Well, between this and his first film, Cooper Raiff's career so far has been pretty smooth. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about a newer Apple TV Plus release, Cha-Cha Real Smooth. Before we begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie were, if you already saw it, or if you were planning on seeing it, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my content out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more movie-related content on a near daily basis. But let's not waste any more time, and let's talk about Cha-Cha Real Smooth. This stars Cooper Raiff as a young man who works as a Bar Mitzvah party host and strikes up a friendship with a mother, played by Dakota Johnson, and her autistic daughter. This hit Apple TV Plus in June, with Raiff also writing and directing this in his second feature film after 2020's Shithouse, which is just a great title, I know. But that was one of my favorite movies of 2020, and it was such a pleasant surprise in the way that Raiff managed to capture the coming-of-age dramedy from a very raw perspective, in the way that it focused on a very uncomfortable, socially awkward lead character, played by Raiff himself, and yet, despite how awkward it would get, it still managed to resonate on such an emotionally profound level. So that had me excited for whatever he had up next, and this time around, he has a bit of a bigger budget, with more names in the cast, including the aforementioned Johnson, alongside Raul Castillo as Johnson's fiancée, Leslie Mann as Raiff's mother, and Brad Garrett as his stepdad, all to tell something maybe just a bit grander in scale than his very contained first movie, and my hype for this went even more through the roof when it hit Sundance earlier this year, and it was proclaimed a highlight of the festival. And here, Raiff explores some very similar themes to what he explored in his first film, though from a different perspective. While his first film explored coming into your own during college and your first real experience with adulthood, Cha-Cha Real Smooth explores still figuring yourself out both as you enter the real world, while also when you're well into adulthood. The relationship primarily driving this forward is that between Raiff's Andrew, who's trying to figure out a career path, and Johnson's Domino, who's older and already has a teenage daughter. Obviously, they're at two completely different stages of their lives, but they do have a natural bond with each other, especially thanks to some excellent chemistry between Raiff and Johnson. But Domino's also engaged and doesn't always seem to be happy, though it seems like both of these characters are at their happiest when they're together. And through their friendship, which clearly hints at romantic feelings, the film explores these notions of coming into your own and finding those connections in the most unexpected places in such a wonderful way. Cooper Raiff is just as great of an actor as he is a writer and director. Now, the film can honestly feel a bit like your typical quirky indie comedy balanced with some overly sentimental moments, but it's still so endearing in its execution, especially for just how naturally likable Raiff is as an actor. He might be your typical slacker protagonist whose aimlessness is met with disapproval from his family members, but the way he charms his way through every situation, making a ton of jokes and being encouraging of others, especially at parties when he's getting everyone to dance and be themselves, it just makes him so endlessly likable that any sense of familiarity in his journey will be pretty forgivable. Meanwhile, Dakota Johnson is also excellent here, with a very nuanced performance where she tries balancing that feel of heartache as she's not entirely sure of what she wants, while trying to make the most out of the things that do make her happy. The film explores how, even when we reach certain points in our life where we're supposed to have it all together, that might not actually wind up being the case, or we might call things into question before making such huge commitments to life-changing decisions. We see her try keeping Andrew's obvious romantic affections at bay, reminding him she's engaged, though the two still spend an awful amount of time together as she calls into question her own happiness. But what's also nice too is the friendship we explore between Andrew and Domino's daughter Lola, played by newcomer Vanessa Berhart. What was refreshing about this storyline was that while the primary relationship is between these two older characters, Lola isn't used as some sort of plot device or just tossed to the wayside and brought out only for the obligatory sentimental moment. Raiff does an excellent job of fleshing her character out as well, and giving her a distinct personality, which is allowed to be brought to the forefront in the way in which Andrew treats her on an equal level and comes to her protection from bullies. And again, it's just another really endearing character, and with this being Berghart's first film role, I gotta say, she did a really great job, and she was quite funny at times for some of the exchanges. And in fact, this film in general would be pretty consistently funny, especially in the many quips Raiff throws at us, especially in the banter among his family members. Now, these relationships aren't ones that are necessarily deeply explored, though we do get a subplot with Andrew's brother trying to find his own first love, which was fine. But The dynamic among these characters was such a blast, from many of the one-liners and quips among them. But while it's really funny, there's also a refreshing sincerity to it when it handles its more emotional moments. Again, its storytelling and themes isn't exactly anything we haven't seen before, though it does briefly touch upon this idea if there's possibly such a thing as multiple soulmates, which I would have liked to have explored just a touch more. But familiarity isn't a big deal as long as the presentation lands. And here, it works really well. It's generally not trying to force these really cheesy moments or trying too hard to pull on our heartstrings. Like I said, some stuff here and there, maybe a little bit, but those would be the exception and not the rule. And otherwise, it would just put a lot of thought into making sure these characters had such distinct, likable, relatable personalities, and making sure that we enjoy following them so that it makes their journeys more endearing. And I'd say it succeeded at pulling it off. Cha-Cha Real Smooth is a wonderful little film. It might have all the ingredients of a typical quirky indie comedy, but the execution is an absolute joy to watch, with a lot of heart, a great sense of humor, relatable themes, and plenty of endearing performances, primarily from Cooper Raiff and Dakota Johnson. This is a nice time, and it further establishes Raiff as a director you need to be on the lookout for. Cha-Cha Real Smooth gets an 8.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Cha-Cha Real Smooth, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you like him more than Cooper Raiff's first film? Are you looking forward to more from him? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it. And for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone, and keep having fun with film.